It's something that lots of people talk about.
That's what we do in the shows.
Yes, it's what we talk about, dating and
Yes.
relationship. Yes,
Hmm.
hello. This is Let's Talk About Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine.
So today, our dating and relationship title is, in the way, is it true if you stop looking, they will come? Oh
Hmm.
my God. How many people say that that's how they met somebody? I just stopped looking, or I wasn't looking at all, or I wasn't even thinking about dating, and poof, they showed up. And I'm like, I don't think it's as simple as that. I think there might
Right.
be a few pieces that they're not talking about. What do you think, Barry?
I was going to say, because the idea basically, and the vision that came to mind when you said that title, which clicked in your head, was like, if you're on the edge of the water and you're wading in, you notice you put waves out, like ripples go away from you as they're pushing in because the movement of the water pushes it away. That's
Yes.
kind of what it feels like people do if they keep looking. They keep pushing away possibilities and making it harder to find.
Yeah.
And so, in the sense of the other side of that equation, if you keep looking, they won't show up. That can be true to a lot of people too. And we'll get into why
Mhm.
and everything is going in the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not purely just don't look, period, and they will show up. It's like you don't just sit in your house waiting and they're going to suddenly appear and knock at the door. So the title is a little bit not misleading, but it's the question. The answer to the question is not always.
No.
In fact, mostly not,
No.
but not the
And
opposite either.
it's not usually just that.
Right.
It's not that simple,
Hmm.
really. I mean, when you dig deeper, it truly isn't that simple. And the funny thing lately that I've been saying is, everybody says there's nothing that you can't get from Amazon Prime. Jeff Bezos knows how to, but I've not heard them delivering single people to your
Right. So
doorstep.
there are some exceptions to that, you know.
And this
I
is
mean,
one of them.
they can deliver quite a few amazing things: motorcycles, houses, amazing what they deliver. People, not so much.
Not so much. But your soulmate is not going to come via Amazon Prime. So
No,
that's the thing when you say you're going to sit in your couch and
I
they're
was going
going
to
to
say
knock on your door.
unless it's the Amazon driver.
And lots of them are married. Of all the ones
Indeed,
that have come to my house had rings on. I noticed.
you've been checking.
I've been checking because I said I can't say this if I don't do my research. So I was doing my research.
There you go.
So I have a little note that says knock on the door so that I can come and get my package. So then I've been checking them out.
Ulterior motive. I love it.
I thought it's research, right? Isn't that what we do? We have to do really unusual research.
What
Somebody
about
has to do it.
it's also the fact there's been the problem of people stealing packages, porch pirates stealing packages off of
Yeah,
porches.
yeah.
So you're actually doing it to make sure you get what you're asking for. So you're actually
Oh,
giving, so it's
sure.
really ensuring delivery. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's really the main reason.
Absolutely.
And it's my market research because
Yeah.
I do it for my clients.
Hmm.
Somebody has to do this hard job, right?
Oh, the responsibility.
So I love what brings them in and what pushes them away. And those are going to be such rich topics today.
Yes. Yeah.
And what I find is when people say to me personally, or I see it posted, I stopped looking or I wasn't looking. I go, that is so exciting. Tell me what you did 6 months before that. Tell me what you did a year before that. And oh my goodness, they did some work that they're not
Hmm.
giving themselves credit for. I go, let's look at that. What kind of internal work did you do? What kind of crappy dates did you? Oh, she had to do her drive by. Hello, Miss
Yes.
Gigi. What kind of crappy dates did you go on that you went, oh, I don't want that. I didn't realize I didn't want that till it showed up. I don't want that. Or even they had some good traits, but they still weren't your person. Oh, wow. Yeah, I want that. I hadn't thought about that. They're like, really? I was doing work. I said, that's doing work. You're doing
Mm.
your sorting, you're doing your researching. Even though you've now stopped doing it that way, you still had that churning around in your head.
Mm-hmm.
You need to practice thinking about what do I want? What do I not want? How do I want to be treated? Who am I that I bring to this? And if you're constantly really consciously thinking about that, then you're going to have a better chance of the right person showing up, whether you're currently at that moment looking or not.
Right.
Let's look at what steps you get to when you can. I have no trouble with people saying I will stop looking now. I'm going to concentrate on myself. I'm going to get involved with other things. what did you do before that? Let's really give some thought and credence to it, don't you think?
Absolutely, because what you're just saying is, in a way, is you're putting the wheels in motion and then you're taking your hands off the wheel to stop controlling things, which really what the truth is.
Yes.
And the thing that was also the way I remember hearing it from various friends of mine is like they met their partner when they stopped looking was basically they were just so pursuing and pushing and trying to get the dates again, like the ripples they're putting out there. When we finally said, you know what, I'm giving up, I just can't do it anymore. It's too much stress, or whatever the reason is to say, I'm done with that.
Yeah.
Is when they relax and breathe in, especially because most of my clients are women, this is a feminine thing, is they start attracting in the sort of thing they want. And then suddenly the right man shows up and they're like, where were you?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's that sense of all the prep work that was done before. Now, that wasn't necessarily part of it, but understanding we definitely want to talk about the things that people have done successfully internally to change their alignment, whatever that is, which we'll get into, so that when they meet the person or the person meets them, they're like, that was easy. Because that's the thing,
Mhm.
is that it's all the hard work that doesn't get what you want. And it's like when you just show up and they're there and you're like, that was easy. That's kind of the result. Of course, again, what did they do all before that to get to be that easy?
So the good news and bad news for women especially,
Mm-hmm.
our energy, what we're putting out is palatable. People can feel it, they can sense it, they can see it on our faces. So if you're efforting, and you're trying really hard and you're really struggling with this dating thing, that's kind of hard energy. I think it could be a little repelling, especially for somebody who goes, I'm looking for somebody who would be loving and caring and warm and calm a lot of the time. And you're like in this nuclear power plant energy of working really hard. That's not going to be very attracting or attractive.
Exactly.
And when you finally relax, with maybe relaxing is that you go, okay, I'm not going to do that effort stuff before that I was doing before. I'm going to now do more what's smoother for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's very attractive. That really could bring in the right person. And you still need to do the work before. You and I help it be less effortful.
Absolutely.
That's because it's like you don't have either or. Like, I would rather be in no relationship than a bad one. I go, I agree. I'd like a good one, though. There is a third option. So that's what
Yes.
you and I say. You can effort through this dating thing. You can give up on the dating thing, or you can date with not so much effort. What a concept, right?
From a place of wisdom and from guidance. Absolutely. Yes. Oh, it's so
Yeah,
so much so. I mean, the thing
I
was that I was
know.
thinking is this and just to speak from the experience of being a man when a woman has been what's what I'm looking for? Hungry, needy. It does, and it's funny. It doesn't matter how attractive the woman is. That overlay of I don't know what I was going to say ugliness, but the overlay of neediness, that that energy is so repulsive energetically. And so I've had experiences in the past with women, and all of them were ones I wasn't attracted to. It doesn't matter how attractive they were, I wasn't attracted to them. But when they put the energy on top of that, it was even more repulsive. So, ladies, if you're watching this, please get clear that when you start pursuing and being needy for that attraction of relationship, we as men aren't that sensitive to pick up all the energy, but that is a clear message that we don't want to be involved with.
Yeah.
So, yes, we can teach you how to do it in a way that's much more inviting and conducive, and the place that isn't either one of the no relationship or desperation for a relationship.
Yes. Because it's that desperation is palatable.
Yeah.
That is one of the things men really have an instinct
Sorry.
about. You go,
It needs to course correct that word because palatable normally means tasty,
yeah,
I think. Is that what you meant by palatable? I think you meant something else.
no, what is it? It's, you
Tangible?
can feel it.
Yeah.
Tangible. That's a much better word. Tangible.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to say palatable is a good thing. So you're saying it negatively, and I'm getting confused. Maybe the viewers are too. So I want to make sure it's clear.
I know. Since
Tangible,
we're such
yes.
foodie people, yes, tangible. The man can sense it.
Yes.
You can, and the wrong kind of guy is going to go, yeah, bring it on. The right kind of guy is going to go, please, no.
Right.
Even though I really think I like you and I really like how you look, this energy is very unappealing,
Definitely.
off-putting.
Yes.
It's going to have the exact opposite effect of what you hope you would want from a man.
Hmm.
that
Which is why
desperation type.
most women have done that, or have experienced that result where they get nothing of what they wanted.
And so when you look at the women who were actively dating
Mm.
and men that were actively dating, and they meet somebody and they like each other, I love asking that question because how were you feeling? Oh, it was just fun. And I was out there just having a good time. And I was just looking and doing things I really enjoy already. And they just showed up. I was living my life with the thought of dating and looking for a partner. There's no even a tiny percentage of that desperation or of that effort, of that working really hard. Whenever
Yeah,
they say dating is hard and it's so much work, I go, this is why you're not meeting anybody. This
absolutely.
attitude, which feels real, it's feeling like work and hard and effort filled. That's not going to get the person for you most of the time. Tiny
Right.
percentage, maybe you could stumble, run into each other accidentally when you came around the corner at a grocery store. It's not going to be the most effective way to meet somebody. So,
Right.
so looking at, well, how do I feel? Is it all feeling like too much work? Is it all feeling really discouraged? Is it all feeling hard? That's why they're not showing up. Or
Yeah.
only the hard ones are showing up, the people that aren't a match for you, because they're matching this energy you're putting out. Gosh, they
Hmm.
seemed really desperate. I've heard that. Or gosh, they were just so needy. And I'm like, well, let's look at the energy you're having. I mean, that's the shit on your shoes. Oh my God, is there really something I need to change? But you could change it because it's you. You can't do anything about them. And I found, oh my God, I'm living proof that is when I finally figured out how to switch that energy, completely different men showed up.
Hmm.
And I didn't do anything else different. I was still in the same sites. I was still meeting them in the same places, completely different energy because I
Yeah.
had different energy.
Oh yeah. It's so different. I mean, the energy from a man's point of view, when a woman is coming from a place of neediness versus invitation, is so starkly different, and so the polarity or the desire on one level is like, when it's inviting, it's so much more attractive, and when it's needy, it's just repulsive, like literally like a magnet. So
Yeah.
the understanding that, ladies, you have the dominion over this, and for us men, the other part too is because men can be desperate too; they can be needy as
Mm-hmm.
well. So not just women on this one, but for men, and I've had this experience myself. I've watched, and it wasn't an experiment. It was actually wasn't in my poor dating times. It was a great doc. It's great feedback for myself. But I remember vividly certain times where I was attracted to a woman, and I was definitely coming from a place of neediness and desperation. And it's amazing how that sort of wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole, sort of
Uh-huh.
that distance thing. I could
Uh-huh.
feel it. Like
Uh-huh.
she would like shut down and move away, like almost as if I had some sort of disease.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably did. It was like, the needy disease.
And I have experienced that on the other side of the table, men that were so needy and so not thinking highly of themselves. And I mean in a very secure, good way, not an arrogant way.
Right.
That that is certainly is appealing to me. And most of the women I've talked to, that's very appealing to them. That masculine, I know who I am. I want to find out who you are. I'm really comfortable in my own skin. I know what my value is in the world. And when I find those people, they are not the braggadocious one at all. You have to get it out of them. Oh, wow, you do that and you're really interested in that? Well, yeah. I mean, it's just part of their life. It's not, they don't wear it as a badge of honor. They don't wear it to impress people. They internalize it because it's who they are as a person, which is super appealing for a woman. And I've asked them when I've had clients like that of men, how do you feel with those needy women? You go, oh, walk away. Just walk
Absolutely.
away. Yeah, because everybody when they're feeling needy tries too hard. It's just human nature. We're going to try to overcompensate. We're going to try to talk too much, brag too much, be too quiet, won't even reveal anything if you're not secure. Because
Absolutely.
that's the interesting balance. When you're secure, you have no trouble revealing and you don't have any inclination to brag.
Right. And on top of that, because another piece of that too, because I'm with a recent experience about this, is when you come from a place where you're not needy, but you're actually more in flow. So it's invitational, it's more relaxed. is if you go on dates with somebody and it doesn't fit, you don't get it upset, because the challenge with somebody's desperate, they're immediately invested with somebody they might meet. And of course, if they go 2 or 3 dates and it doesn't work out, they get more and more upset by that. And that's not healthy either. So the stress levels alone of being driven by desperation or neediness, it's bad for your health. I went out recently. Literally last night was the ending date. I went out with somebody recently, like a couple of dates, and it was very relaxed, and we had a great time conversation. But it was in the middle of the second date where we just realized not going to fit.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it was more my stuff I need to fix rather than hers, because she was pretty much everything I think I was looking for. It seemed like, but also there were a lot of, and it's funny. This is the other part too about not being desperate. Is I was aware enough to reconsider and look at all the things I'd missed or ignored in our dates.
Wow.
And that's the thing. I mean, this is maturity for me, because I didn't do this for a long time. Just to be clear, I wasn't perfect at this. But that was the thing, is that so many boxes were checked that I was clear about. But I said something to her at the end that was so clear for me, because I've said before in my it's not my dating profile, but in my conversations with women, is that the work I'm doing in the world is so important to me that I want to be with somebody who does the work with me. And she's not fit for that. I mean, she's very self-aware. She's very smart. She's close to my age, but she's also, drop dead gorgeous, and she's got some great stuff going on for her. But there were things along the way that, even though I was like, oh, she's so fun to be with, there's going to be things that's going, yeah, but I'd be giving up this for her. And I went, and she's the one said it wasn't going to work out because I think something I'm working on. But that piece alone was a preservation technique in a way. It's like it was reminding me to stay true to my own values and what I'm really believing in. And it's okay to walk away. As much as she was the one that walked away from me. Just to be clear again, I want to be honest. I didn't say, oh, I'm too good for this, I need to walk away. No. She was the one that was telling me some things that I didn't have lined up because of some things I'm working on. And the truth is, I didn't take it painfully. I didn't take it. I mean, initially the part was like, oh man. But that was about as bad as it got. Yeah. It wasn't like, oh no, which I did in the past, just to be clear. Because we men feel it too when we get rejected or we don't get what we want. So this understanding that when you do go into dates with the same level of invitation and relaxes versus desperation and need, if the date doesn't work out, it's like, okay, didn't work out. The good news is, and this is one thing I want to remind people, I remind my clients too, and it reminds myself as well, is when I go on dates with somebody who I think is almost the perfect match for what I want, it doesn't work out. I've now set the bar at that level, which means there's more available above that versus I've got to come down from there. So the good news is, when you go on a date that's close, that's a good sign that you're on the right direction.
Oh, yeah.
So it doesn't, you're okay.
Oh, I love your story, Barry. You're always so good about being so transparent and honest and open. And it's something I believe wholeheartedly too, that generally when we've taken the step forward, we've gotten more clear about ourselves, and the universe says, okay, I'm going to show you evidence that you're moving in the direction that you say you want to be. Tell me what you think about this. And you're like, yeah, more please. And thank you for showing me about me, what I need to grow. And I can have even more when I grow, because look what I had already. I mean, that's such a healthy, healing, positive, motivating way to look at dating, rather than the opposite, which you so clearly brought up about, I'm giving up. I've tried 3 different people and none of them worked out, and I just think the whole thing's horrible and awful.
Right.
And I understand why people feel that way. I really do. And my suggestion always is what I learned to do with me, because I used to get so disappointed. Oh my God, I took it all so personally. To learn about, I can't plan that they're going to like me, that I'm going to like them, that we're going to want to go out another time, that we're going to be soulmates forever. I can't plan any of that. The 2 things I can plan and guarantee, money back guarantee every time. Look what you learned. We learn about ourselves. If you go, okay, bring it on. I want to learn. I mean, maybe it's going to be something that means I'm moving forward with this person. Still teach me, even if it turns out it's not the right person. And guaranteed, if I say that, I learn often more than one thing. Sometimes I'm like, oh, did I really want to learn that? And the second thing, guaranteed, you're going to learn about the other person, who they are, where they are, what they think about where you are. Even if you don't agree, at least you're finding out. Maybe
Yeah.
you had learned how to have a different kind of conversation, or even when they couldn't have been less of a match for me, they were doing really interesting things in their lives. I'm like, oh, I never heard about that. I'm going to check into that. Or I know somebody I could tell about that. So I always walk away going, I got my goals. But if you think your goal is going to be more than those, often you're going to get really disappointed. And that's a really crappy way to, because then it's going to just build and build and build. Whether I keep building on what am I going to learn and what am about them and what am I going to learn about me, rather than building on the disappointment. I like that choice. I've decided I like that choice much better than the way I used to do it. So I
Absolutely.
love your attitude about this. Darn, darn, darn. You're allowed to say darn because it was pretty and you thought, oh my God, look how close I am. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, it didn't work out. Crap. And I have new assignments. This is okay. I tell people, look at Tiger. These are my two examples. Look at Tiger Woods and look at Serena Williams. And you go, they still had people teaching them. They still the best in the world at their times. She left being the best in the world.
Yeah.
She still had coaches and trainers and practiced every day at the best. So we're still baby new at this. We're new dating people in the world, most people, especially people that haven't dated in a long time. To give yourself the grace of, I'm going to screw up and I might not know everything. And who can I ask that's going to help make this journey less hard? My goal is to make it easier. First, we just make it less hard because you show up and say it's hard. I go, okay, we're going to make it less hard. And that's when your attitude changes. When you don't think it's hard, you're going to say it's less hard and then hopefully finally easy. And oh my God, fun.
Oh my God. More fun after the break. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that after the break, definitely.
Okay, we'll be right back.
See you in a minute.
And we're back talking about when you stop looking, are they going to show up? When you stop trying so hard.
Yeah.
Trying so hard is the way I would say it. When you stop trying so hard, they probably will show up.
Because the thing is, you can still keep looking, but it's looking without attachment.
The attachment. That is such a, I mean, we need to keep driving that home, Barry, because being attached to the outcome when you have no control, you have no control to this outcome. You're setting yourself up for heartache and frustration and exhaustion and possibly, sadly, pushing the right person away because the right person is not going to be attracted to that.
The other part also is if you have this thing about fixation, what it's going to look like, how it's going to be exactly. It's like you've drawn a box that the person who wants to be with you is not quite the same shape as, so they won't fit. So using that as a metaphor to understand that point is that when you have the flexibility and you're not trying so hard, and again, we talked about this about green flags and red flags and I think many times over the show. Watch the archives, by the way. We have lots of replays to talk about this. But when you get to the point of having clarity about what you really want, you don't say the person is going to have to fit in this container. You actually say, this is what I'm looking for as a, I want to say a baseline, is not the right word, but it's what is required for what in my relationship. And then the stuff on the outside that is a bonus. So if you have a fixation on what they're going to be like, you're limiting the possibility of what additives that you didn't think about could show up in the relationship. So definitely learn how to one, stop trying so hard and not be so desperate to find the relationship, and learn to be relaxed and more detached in a sense of what you want to have.
And I've mentioned in past shows that I am living proof of that too, that, I had a type. Well, everybody seems to have a type, and I kept dating my type, and they weren't the right people for me. And when I finally said, all right, I'm not going to date that type anymore. I'm going to just be really open. And I know that the most important thing is I need somebody to be nice to me and the people in their world, and I need them to be interested in learning about me. I could have that as that's a big part of my list.
Right.
So when my late husband showed up, not the package was completely different than anybody I'd ever dated in my life, and normally would have passed him up because of that. Since I had changed the way that I was thinking and I had nothing invested except I'm experimenting, I'm trying something new, and I'm going to make sure he's a nice person and he's interested in getting to know me. The very first lunch, I went, wow, he's really nice and he asks really good questions. I can't wait to see him again and hear what questions he's going to ask me. Even though I was like, yeah, it's nice. It's okay how he looks, but it wasn't any of the whoa, normally
Right.
when it's our type. And it just was effortless. It was
Hmm.
effortless. And I am the first person to say I did a whole bunch of work to get ready for that. I did not just sit back and expect him
Right.
to show up. And I truly would not have had the gifts of the things that I never had thought I could have. I didn't even know they were available for me if I hadn't done the work ahead of time and got more relaxed about it. So I would never say that if I stopped looking at all. And I
This
believe that I got so relaxed that he showed up.
that's the thing. I mean, that's demonstration right there about this thing. In a sense, one way of putting it is that when person watching, when you stop looking and stop pushing and stop fighting and you relax, you almost create this vacuum in a sense. You create
Yeah.
this attraction energy that will pull in the sort of person you're looking to be around. And so it becomes, as you said earlier, about effortless and play and fun, all these things we talked about. But the biggest gift, though, is that in the meantime, you're happy being yourself. And we've talked about, again, we talked in the show many times about the relationship with yourself is more important than about finding yourself full and loving and everything else. Because the thing about being less desperate is that you actually realize that, or I should say, you start to learn to navigate how to be whole and complete yourself. So when you're looking for a relationship, you're not looking for something that's missing. Because most of the time, people are driven by the sense of like desperately looking and seeking and trying to find that one. Because they feel like because that energy of looking for is implying that you don't already have it,
Yeah.
and that simple truth is profound and painful at times for some people. Because when you realize that when you're looking for something, then you obviously don't have it because if you had it, you wouldn't be looking. But when you start to relax into ownership of that, you have all the love that you want and need inside yourself, and that you're welcoming that in to expand into a greater wholeness, then
Oh,
someone else can join you easily that way.
such a lovely way to put it. You're always so eloquent.
I do steal and
Well,
borrow from other people, just to be clear. So it's not all my
oh,
own, but that was a what's the one looking for? It wasn't a corollary. No, it was my rendition of some stuff I've heard before from other teachers.
well, we smart people quote smart people, right? I
Yes,
like
we
that.
do. Yes, we do.
So it's interesting that you brought that up because I will say, that's exactly what I did in my first marriage. I was very convinced I had all these things lacking in me and all these holes in me. And I looked for somebody that would fill them up. And turns out he was doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And what I ultimately learned was I really did have all those things. I just didn't know it. And
Hmm.
having to keep literally fighting verbally and emotionally to keep bringing that forward in me and honoring it in me and making it tangible to me. When I left, I was like, oh, I felt like Dorothy. I always had it all the time. I just didn't realize it. It was
Yeah.
eye opening to that point. Then when I met my late husband, he kept saying, you're so fun and you're so nice and you're so comfortable and you're so confident. And I go, well, so are you. And I think that it was a like attracting a like a lot. And
Yeah.
the other thing, I don't know that I've said it. I do know I've said he was married twice before, but he told everybody, especially his first marriage was nice. His second marriage was really hard. And he said, I'm not doing that again. I mean, I'm okay dating, but and he said, 3 dates, and he's like, I'm going to marry her. And he's telling everybody he's going to marry. He didn't waited a little while to tell me because I was like, no, you're not yet. But they were like, what happened? He goes, because she's so these things, which is what he realized he'd been looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that was a match, somebody that could match him in this way.
Right.
And I was like, wow, that's what I figured out I was looking for too. I mean, and it's funny because we wouldn't have met without using online dating, which is why I'm such a fan, even though I do other things out in the world, and it suggests that for sure. We, at one point, didn't live far from each other at all. And then we didn't live that much farther when he moved to where he was when I met him. But we wouldn't have met in a social circle.
Got it.
So that's why I was happy to keep using online dating, because I kept meeting people that were a little bit outside of my geographical area.
Mm-hmm.
But what made him show up in this very obtuse way, because he first had his mileage kind of close to where he lived, and the only reason he met me is because he expanded it, and I was the first person that showed up far away. 35 miles is not far, but some people think it's far. That what we had really figured out inside of ourselves, that energy went out and we went, oh yeah, I recognize your energy. And so we both had done work beforehand. We both had done what wasn't working, and who do I need to be now, and what's going to make my life by myself better. And then how terrific if I can have a partner that makes it even better than that. But really, what in your life is lacking that you personally could fill up? And then the person with you just makes it better. I mean, I really like being in a relationship. And most of my, especially right now, my male ones really miss being in a relationship. And that is a teeny piece of the puzzle. You can have that and not feel desperate as long as you have all the other things. I mean, I've got this guy finally, he's going to the gym. He's gone back to the shooting range. He's going to take archery. I said, you need to not wait for because he's a widower and they did a lot of stuff together. You can't wait for the other person to go do these things. And now he met a woman at the archery range. We're not sure. Oh, he met another woman. He's met two women, one at the gym and one at the archery range. And he said at the gym, she came over and started talking to him, and he finally looked at the clock and it had been 3 hours.
Whoa.
I said, aren't those the best, that when it feels like 5 minutes instead of the kind that it really was 5 minutes and it felt like an hour? But he's like, oh, this is why you told me to go do stuff.
Surprise.
Fill yourself up. Keep filling yourself up. Because if you're a good person and you're not an arrogant, blowhard person, filling yourself is really good. It's not going to make you overconfident. It's going to make you just the right amount, like the Three Bears, don't you think?
Yeah. Oh, it is that sort of just right feeling in a sense. It is like just being the thing. And I mean, just to play with the joke about Goldilocks and stuff, Goldilocks wasn't desperately seeking. It was more about opportunist in a sense. It's almost like she saw the porridge, was like, oh, food, I'm hungry. Oh, okay, it's great timing. And they find one that fit. So in a way, I mean, I don't know if this is going to work as a parallel for this, but the idea about dating and relationships, I've got to carefully I walk this path, is that when you go on dates, oftentimes it is course correction. That you go somebody and go, oh, that's not going to fit, or that was not going to fit. Oh, that was just right, sort of thing. That works. Making the dating, but making again, as I said before the break about how making it fun and playful is, what if you go on dates as a chance to meet new people and have fun, and also to refine your own choices rather than going, is that the one? Is that the one? Is that the one? The desperation move. Because the thing is that they can show up when you are available to that. And we talked about it before. And so what you were talking about with this guy, it was almost like the sound like with your husband rather it's almost like you didn't expect it when you saw each other. You weren't saying, is this the one? Because that's the thing. If you start thinking, is this the one before you meet them, that could be a clue that maybe you're being desperate. And it really is, will this be fun? Can I enjoy myself? Will I learn something here? Which you said as well. So that is a key component I would suggest for dating right now. When you go on dates, make it something that's just interesting. And as you said with the guy who met this woman at the gym, is when you are relaxed and not looking for it, they tend to show up because there's space in your energy for them to walk into.
And he said, 3 hours. Do you think that's unusual? I go, yeah, because I think she likes you. She's not going to sit and talk to you for 3 hours.
At
And
the
if I
gym,
was talking to her, I go, a guy is not going to sit for 3 hours because they'd had their workout and they just
right?
started talking about something about the machines and how long you've been coming. And then they started talking about their kids and their their jobs. And he said the time just flew, and it was very even back and forth. The time just flew by, and I go, so
That's a
I love when you talk about how when you are just out there, when you're just putting yourself out there, you're not, because what happened with your most recent person is you went, wow, I like all these things about her, and I'd have to not do this thing that's really important to me.
Mhm.
Can I do that? Is this okay enough? Because it might be. Or you're like, but you said no. And most of the time it is no. If it's a real core, important growth thing for you that you need to be doing right now for
right,
something that's going to keep happening, you go, darn, no, I can't give that up. Because
right.
when you're desperate, you give so much of yourself up in
Hmm.
order to grab and hold on
Right.
to this thing that's really not your thing anyway. If you have to grab it and hold onto it desperately, no,
It's not
that's
good.
not your thing. That's not your
Well,
person.
the thing is, if you come from desperation, then what you end up attracting is something that's going to be desperate too. So it's not very healthy.
No.
And just to requalify something, because something that was about my experience is that last night when we had the ending conversation,
Yeah.
as I said earlier, is that she was the one who initiated it, saying that it wasn't working for her.
Yeah.
I came to the realization in the conversation during the conversation that it wasn't going to
Yeah.
work for me either.
Yeah.
So I didn't initiate the ending. Just to be clear, so I don't want to
Yeah.
say like, oh, I cut it off. It's like, no, I basically figured out during the conversation that I was giving up certain things that I didn't realize until
Yeah.
that point that I might have done that with. And it's like,
So
in a way,
you both had that experience. That was
yeah.
fascinating.
And she gave me the gift of being the one that said, this is not lining up. And I started realizing, like, oh, it doesn't line up for me either. As much
Yeah.
as and to be honest, I was extremely entertained because she was so much of everything else. I mean, she was 10 out of 10 on every other parts of
Yeah.
stuff. It just had one piece, maybe a couple of things too weren't lining up,
Yeah.
but I could forego some of them, but that one I couldn't.
Uh-huh.
And so I
Uh-huh.
ultimately,
See?
yeah,
That's what the conscious dating is when you say
yes,
realistically, because that's when you negotiate. You go, well, I'm willing to not do this or do this instead. And I'm willing, because you can't be, that's the other thing. You can't be all rigid. And if they don't live up to my every single thing, then poo on them.
right,
Well, that's not going to happen because some of the things that I ended up changing or altering or doing differently in my my marriage with my late husband
hmm,
was really good for me. It was good lessons for me to learn. I was okay with them. And they didn't feel like a sacrifice. If you
right,
feel like you're sacrificing, which sounds like both of you really went, yeah, no, can't. This is
that's
not just a course correction, which I love that because you think anybody that rides a bicycle or the people who sail, you never go in a straight line. Never.
no,
You have to keep and
yeah,
driving a car. You have to constantly making little adjustments, or if you want to go in a whole different direction on a sailboat, you go make a different course direction goal. That is essential. That you're constantly
yeah,
going, is this working for me? Is there something I could do differently? Is there a different belief I could have, a different way of behaving? That is essential, but not the throwing, as they say, the baby out with the bathwater in order to hold on to this relationship.
well, that's the other part is that if you go on dates with somebody, and I've had this in the past, where the other person was like, no, this isn't going to work out for whatever reason, it's easy to get righteous and upset and going like, damn, I missed out. Like, oh, woe is me and the trouble and everything else. Because again, if you go in there looking desperately and needing the relationship, then anybody says no to you is going to make you feel worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yep.
That's not very conscious or growing. So I'm grateful in the sense that the transition of the energy inside of me when I was out last night to when I got home last night after the date was so clearly that and I'm not toot my own horn, but I've done enough work to realize that the opportunity was there, and I'd say goodbye to certain things I thought were possible, but recognizing that what I'm holding on to is more important than that. Ultimately, as much as I was disappointed, especially because I know part of my ego was like, I didn't initiate the no.
I know.
A part of me was kind of attached to that. But that's the thing is that having done this work, I can play with that because back in my earlier dating days, I wouldn't be conscious of that sort of stuff. So I've been in my own like depression and upset and distress of what didn't work out, what could have been happening, and now I'm like so close.
So adult too. I love all this grown up, this stuff that we're doing. Because
I think
I always say it's easier to be the leaver than the leavee. It just is, because you
yeah,
thought about it ahead of time. You worked it out in your brain. You've already done some grieving. You've already done some justification. And the other person's like, what? What's going on? It is. It's hard to be on the receiving end of it's not working out. Even when
right.
you're all grown up and enlightened and you've done a ton of work, you're allowed to be disappointed, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody is.
I'm not sure.
And that you don't go, I'm wrong and there's nobody ever going to love me and I'm so screwed up. That is because we've all done that. It's horrible. There's nothing good that comes out of that. But if you go, yeah, I'm disappointed. I really wish it could work out. And I really see why it can't. And it's the best thing for me for it not to, even though, and I'm disappointed. I can be both things at once. That is so terrific. And I'm so glad you're so willing to give your experience about that. So current too, that people can go, oh, I'm normal. Or, oh, there is a choice to do something differently. Look at Barry, who's the person that knows so much, because they're like, well, how come, don't you love it? How come you're so single if you know everything?
Yeah, that one's,
well, you now have this perfect example of dating really successfully, getting so close to what you want. And you go, because rather than stay and try really hard to make something work that isn't going to, this is also part of being a really mature dating person, to go, let's part as friends, let's go our separate ways, and we both agree disappointedly it's not going to work. Darn.
And
just to be really clear, super duper.
Just to underline that piece for a second as well. I'm also very aware a little part of me was definitely going, oh man, if only. It's like I watched that part and I was actually kind of amused by it because it's in me still, It's not like I'm totally clean. I'm like, oh, I'm so mature and so aware and so enlightened. It's like, no, I know I'm doing the work and I'm standing my adult self. But at the same time, this young part of me going, damn.
Those teenagers, they're so emotional. They get so hormonal excited, and then they get so down in the dumps and want to go slam their bedroom door and stomp on the floor. And we all have them in us.
Yeah, and the thing is also, I mean, again, looking back, and not to justify, but definitely there's some things along the way where I know there were some things that I said about myself that she wasn't necessarily ideally happy with, and things that she said and things that she was committed to, or things that she didn't want to deal with, or whether it's like food choice, other things too, where I go, that's gonna be an issue, or that's gonna be a problem, that's gonna work. So these are things that they weren't mountains, but they were molehills, and there were plenty of those along the way that were clues. Not to say this is not a good idea, just know they'd be ahead of us if we did get together. But the thing is, when she, again, I'm so grateful in the sense that because something I was doing that she wasn't fitting with, she said no. That when I saw through the lens of like, I said to myself what I wanted was this, and she's not able to provide that either. Mm-hmm. So why am I still sitting in this position of feeling like a victim? No,
Because she's cute and you liked her. That's why.
Absolutely.
It's really normal. It's just we don't need to live there.
Right.
All these feelings are so normal. I don't care. I mean, I think that the Dalai Lama in private and Gandhi and Mother Teresa got really depressed and sad sometimes. I mean, people want to say they're not. I'm like, no, they're still human beings. They're still back having a human experience. Of course they would have all those feelings. It's how long do you let it stay in your body? Right. How much do you make it take you down? Do you acknowledge and go, yep, crappy, wow, yuck, okay, set a timer and feel that way for an hour. Call a friend and cry to, that's what I do. I call a friend and go, I have to just moan to you about this. And then I'm going to move on. Yeah. And what did I learn? And what am I going to do different next time? You have to have this is crap. I wish it was different. Darn. So sad, so disappointed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's the thing is ultimately, since back to the title about when if you stop looking, they will come. If you stop being attached, maybe miracle as well, it's easier for them to come. So even when things don't work out, the smoother and the more easily you can complete that process with past ones. Because that's the thing is, it's only this is less than 24 hours. It's been less than a day since we had that conversation. in a way, I'm kind of actually very pleasantly surprised at myself that I'm like, I'm handling, not handling, but I'm feeling okay with all of this.
Yeah.
And I'm going, yeah, I do all this work. I'm supposed to be teaching this stuff. But it's nice to know sometimes I'm the product of the teaching that I teach, you know?
Oh my God, I'm listening to my lessons that I teach other people. And there's
Right.
times I'll say out loud, I go, I really need to listen to what I'm telling you. So we're just going to pause a moment and I'm going to internalize that. And then I'm going to keep talking. It always
Right.
cracks them up. I'm like, yeah, I needed a reminder about that. So I appreciate this reminder, Barry, because it's so helpful to go, there's nothing wrong with me.
Right.
And giving yourself permission to let it go through you, to not try to block it or push it away or live with it forever. You go, yep, it's crappy.
Mm-hmm.
It's crappy when something you really have hope for doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Acknowledge that and then move on.
I mean, I'm grateful also that that's the other part too, is having this, because we've been at twice, having this early quote cancellation
Yeah.
was way better than being 3 or 4 months in, where the emotional involvement investment will be so much higher. It means it's so much harder to disengage, because I go in, when I get into a relationship, I do get into the relationship. I don't play on
Yeah.
the surface. So
Yeah.
that understanding that, it's like, even those are like gifts inside as well, even though they may not look like gifts. So back to the dating piece, just as a summary, because I know we're going to wrap the show soon, is to answer the question, they will come much more easily if you're not pushing them away by being desperate, needy, fixated, chasing. But when you become whole in yourself and you start to play and dance in the enjoyment of that, because the other part of this as well is when you do become more joyful and happy and playing with this experience, you become more attractive.
Yeah.
So especially for the ladies, because again, feminine's attractive energy, masculine energy is pursuing energy. When women are in their true joy and happiness and aliveness, they become more attractive. So the question then it becomes is, how do you refine your attractiveness in the area you want and the position you want to attract the man you want? So you don't keep looking, you don't chase them, but you become a magnet specifically and focused on what frequency you want to be on. When you do that, miracles happen.
So when you hear all those lovely things that people that are beneficial to feeling and acting,
Mm-hmm.
if you even think about, well, why aren't I? Do I have old messages from old relationships? Have I given myself a hard time when they've ended? Have I not been true to myself about giving up too much in order to think I could get this person to fill in my life? Or I just run around thinking nobody's ever going to love me, or that everybody loves me and they all let me down. I mean,
Right.
so much of that, when you go, first, it's just helpful if you go, what isn't working and what could be my part of it? And here's some things you could now delve into and go, oh, I didn't know I thought about that. Oh, yeah, that's really an interesting. Oh, that's when you come to us and go, okay, show me what to do with this. I'm doing these 3 things you mentioned in the video, or I've realized I never realized I was doing any of this, or I see how that could be holding me back, or I'm not sure what I'm doing. Let's ask some questions and find out. That's why we each offer our discovery session where let's just
Absolutely.
see what's really going on and if there's something that we could do about it. When you at least get to the point where you're like, is there something I could do differently? Is there a
Mm-hmm.
way that I could approach dating differently so that I'll stop feeling so badly about it and I can feel better first and then meet somebody second? Because we're like, oh, when I meet somebody, I'm going to feel better. Not usually. Feel better first, meet somebody second. I mean,
You
that's
don't
really
want,
what we talk about.
that's the thing, is you don't want that new person to be the band-aid for your old person, you know?
That's a good point. I
Yeah.
don't want to be a band-aid for their stuff.
No, me neither.
I mean, I asked a lot of questions, and my husband told me he'd been married twice before. I'm like, okay, let's see what kind of baggage you got about that besides kids. Kids
Yeah.
are expected and fine. But I wanted to see, did he still have residual and what happened in each of them and how did he feel about that? And he was so transparent and open and honest about it. And it all proved out true, everything he said. So he
Mm-hmm.
never, made more of it or less of it. He'd really come to grips with it. He'd been divorced the second time for 4 years. So he'd really thought about it. And I was very impressed because I just kept asking all these questions because I'm going to find out, where are you, hun? Since you're pursuing me hot and heavy, I want to find out where you really are.
Yeah.
And it assured me that, wow, look how good I am at figuring out I need to ask these questions and how brave I'm being asking the question, because he could have walked away. And there were a couple of times it was a lot for him, and he kept coming back for more. So isn't that impressive too?
I guess the thing is, you were the investigator, but also you're doing it with love.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was such a cool guy, and he was so caring to me, caring about who I was and what was important to me, and really wanting to answer my questions in the most thorough, honest way. I mean, it even though his outside wasn't my thing, it got so much better looking every time he did that. It was really
Yeah.
weird. My
I love
friends were cracking up. I go, he gets cuter every time I go out with him. I never had, I mean, usually they just started out super handsome, and I didn't have to ever think about that they could get more handsome. But it
Right.
was so weird. I'd never experienced this before, how much more physically I liked who he looked like, and by the way he acted. It was astounding.
I
Isn't
love
that a
that.
fun story? I like that
Yeah.
story. So if you want to have that conversation, Barry and I are here ready, willing, and able to do that with you. And the way to get
Yes.
a hold of me is through my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. Because when you learn how to be the perfect catch, then the perfect catch will show up. You have to start with
Go.
you. You can sign up, if you click on what's holding you back from love, you can sign up to have a personal complimentary conversation with me, and let's talk about what's holding you back. You can also send me an email at christine@theperfectcatch.com, and you can look at all my social media with my private videos and my wonderful 80 plus videos with Barry's cute face, and sign up for my newsletter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Barry's
Nicely done.
such a good teacher for me. And please tell people how they can get a hold of you too.
Indeed. So similar to Christine, I have a website and the social media. My website is my name, which is barryselby.com. And on that front page of my website, I mean, my website has tons of stuff, including my book and online courses and other things too. But on the homepage of my website, you click on the link, which is take the next step. I think it's called take the next step. We can invest in a discovery session with me. At the bottom of the screen, you can join my email list just to be on my list, because I do send out emails every week. Oftentimes replays of the show. So in case you're not watching the show regularly, if you join my email list, you'll get a reminder every week with a replay of the show. That's a hint, by the way. I also put invitations in there as well. And if you want to check out my YouTube channel, because I also have lots of videos with Christine's beautiful face on them as well, with the videos and Let's Talk About Dating, because that's one of my playlists. But that's also, I've got about 1,500 videos on my YouTube channel. So if you want some free advice, check out my YouTube channel, which is also my name. All my social media is my name except Instagram. So Barry Selby on YouTube, on LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest, Facebook, and on Instagram, it's the real Barry Selby. But definitely follow me, and I've got lots of stuff coming up. And you stay in touch. And definitely, if you've got something valuable from this video, feel free to put some comments below if you want. Also, if you want to share with your friends, please do that. And definitely, if you want to get some help, reach out to one of us. We're here to help.
And we do our videos here on Thursdays at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern, and all the times in between. So we will be back next week with another scintillating subject about Let's Talk About Dating with Barry and Christine.
Indeed. We'll see you then.
Bye for now.
Bye.